Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of our 5-day challenge, which is really, really exciting. And I'm looking forward to talking about this topic as well. So, we've progressed on 3 topics, which has been interesting, I think to some of you, and to some of you, it has provoked your thinking, which is really, really cool. So, let's get into today's topic. And today's topic, I'm actually not even bullet pointing it, I'm actually going to talk just overall around monetizing your book. And this is probably a big one for a lot of you because you kind of have that question. Okay, so you kind of go, okay, well, I'm paying to self-publish my book, and depending on the type of book, it might be a few thousand, it might be a little bit more, depending on where it is. And then you kind of ask yourself, well, I'm selling this book again, depending on the type of book is it being sold at $15? Is it being sold at $20? Is it being sold at $25, $30? You kind of go, what's the numbers like how is this going to work overall, which is an interesting time and space, because then we kind of have to go, okay, I've spent some money, how am I going to leverage it, how am I going to monetize it? And that's where then I thought, you know what, let's talk about the money side of things on day 4, and then leave day number 5 to cover an overview, rather than leave this for day 5. So today what I want to talk, it's on the screen, they're going monetizing your book. So first things first, because I have not put any bullet points, you're probably going, is Samantha kind of, where is she going with this today? The reason I haven't is purely because with quite a few of you, I mean, as I said, and I've said this over and over again, and I'll probably say it again, I don't know what kind of book you're going to be writing. I mean, some of you I've already had a conversation, some of you I haven't. You're a name, you're an email address, and I'm not sure. So I suppose that's where I've kind of gone, okay, if I start breaking numbers down and start packaging things up for you guys are going to think, oh, that's the only way. And the truth is, unless I have context to your book, I don't know. It's a bit of a catch 22. So what I wanted to cover in this one, this particular one, I don't think we're going to go even for 30 minutes. It's going to be a lot shorter. But what I would love for each and every one of you is to encourage you to actually book that one-on-one chat with me, because I think I've had about 3 conversations so far, but some of you I don't know. So let's talk about, again, I think just as an overview, I'm going to cover 3 topics. So your children's book, your cookbook, and then your business is self-book. A business is self-help book. Now, you're probably going, Samantha, what's with these 3 categories? It's probably these 3 categories is because these are the common 3 categories that I often have conversations. And the reason I say business and self-help book in the one is because the monetizing process, the way we unpack self-help and business books are very similar. Where things start to change from a leverage, monetizing, and unpack session is when it's a children's book, because a children's book is a children's book. And then when you look at a cookbook is a cookbook. So, even when you start to think about a bookshelf, think about yourself walking into a bookstore. A business book, a self-help book is never anywhere close to a cookbook, right? It never is. So my thing is, why would we treat it the same? Same with the children's book. They're always completely in the other direction in a bookstore. So I'm going to give you, I think for the purpose of this, I've not put any visuals as well, is because everyone is monetizing it differently. From all the authors that I have published over the last 3 and a bit years, I think there's only 2 authors that paid to self-publish and said, look, this has been a bucket list item. So Samantha, we don't want any marketing help. We just want to get the printed copies and we want to give it away free. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to back off. But for every single other author, they have always very clearly told me, if I'm paying you as a publisher to self-publish my book, I want to make money. And then they've had that conversation with various other organizations as well. For some of you that aren't aware, Hay House, which is one of the largest publishers, um, Hay House has a subsidiary called Balboa Press, which is American as well, and they do self-publishing as well. So Hay House takes manuscripts and you don't bear the cost to publish. That could be a kid's book, a cookbook, a self-help book, business book, whatever. And then there's Balboa Press, that is a self-publishing business like us, and you pay to publish. And depending on the type of book it is, you would pay them, that package. So this is where I kind of want to unpack that a little bit and give you some insights, and then again encourage you to talk to me. So let's unpack. Let's start with a children's book. Let's look at the monetizing process around a children's book, and then after a cookbook, and then finally, lucky last, a business or a self-help book. So with the children's book, there's two parts for the author. So the author is going to spend a few $1,000s to publish this book, and in return they're going to get either 150 or 200 books. Yeah. And from this, then the question comes, okay, let's do the numbers. I've spent a few $1,000s, I've got about 200 books. Where to from here? Now, selling books, as I said yesterday, I can assure you, if you're thinking of just selling 100 books or 150 books, you might as well accept before you even start that you're never going to make an ROI. It is given, guys. I hate to break it to you, whether that's a cookbook, a business book, a children's book, there's no ROI on selling 150 copies. Yeah, you'd be lucky if you cover your costs. That's just what it is, unfortunately. Hate to break it to you, but that's absolute transparency. But here's the thing, with some of our children's books, and I say some is because some of our authors are not looking to leverage what I'm about to say to you, because they are selling by the mass. So we've got three authors that have probably sold over 650 copies of their children's book. Sorry. And for them, they're not looking to leverage what I'm about to tell you. Yeah, because they're selling mass. And they said to me when they came on board, they said, I want to sell over 1,000 copies, so I'm going to make a lot of profit. And to give you a bit of backstory for these authors, they're selling purely on Facebook. Like it or not, they're selling it on Facebook. I don't know in this particular week whether they're selling these, but they have a Facebook page, like an author page. And on there, they have created some amazing content around the book, and they just keep selling the book. Dispatched right across Australia, New Zealand. One author, she has a bit of a following in Singapore, and so she's probably sold, I don't know, maybe about 200 copies in Singapore. So Singapore was an interesting one because obviously you're paying international postage for a children's book, but that's where she's been selling to her audience. The other side, so these authors are selling in the mass. To those of you that are going, okay, what if I don't end up selling 500, 600 copies where I can make my money? Then this is where the children's book on the other side comes into play. So some of our authors, and I say some because it is some, have actually decided to take the children's book and make it into an interactive delivery option, meaning they're selling it online. Click on their website, click on their social media, buy a book for $10 or $15 plus the postage, and it comes delivered to your front door. And then some of the authors have taken that one step further and decided, okay, this is a preschool book, as in designed for children before school. What if I start to reach out to childcare centers and ask them whether they would be open to doing like a book reading? Because for those of you that with children, you might have heard in schools, they bring in authors from outside, get the author to sit in the library and do book reading. So some of the authors have implemented this process as well, where they're reaching out to childcare centers, and saying, would you like me to come in, do a reading and take some questions or ask them questions, so that it gives the childcare center an added advantage on what they're delivering to their children. But it also means that this author is able to suddenly reach out and probably convert 40, 50 sales, depending on how big the childcare center is. So not everybody's going to buy, but let's say, okay, in a childcare center where there's 200 children, if there's 50 people buying, that's pretty awesome. So I've got 1 or 2 authors that are doing that model. Now you need to remember that with that model comes 2, 3 different elements. From a legal perspective, if you're directly coming in contact with children, you need to have a working with children's license. That's a must-have requirement, a legal requirement here in Australia. If you're listening to this outside of Australia, then you'll need to check with your country's legal requirements. But for those of you in Australia, that's a regulated thing. You need to have that. And then on the other side, authors that have done books beyond that, which is more for a child in grade 1 and 2, they've just reached out to local schools. When I say local schools, the decision-making process is a lot quicker if you go to private schools or semi-private school, because if you go to a government school, they're governed by obviously various bodies, and that process is so lengthy. So with some of my authors, they've just gone, nah, we're just going to reach out to the private school sector and say, hey, you know, especially coming up to around book week, just before or just after, it's a good time to monetize and leverage. So they've done that option, and that really works. And then I've got one author that has taken it up a notch, and she's partnered up with a lady that does a bit of like, I won't call it acting, because I actually don't know what the word is. So I do apologize in advance. But she's teamed up with a lady that is able to narrate this and, you know, dress up a bit of role playing. So when they go to different places, they can role play this story out. So let's pretend if there was like a dog in the character, then this other girl, while the author reads the story, this girl would wear like a dog mask and try to do little creative stunts while the story is being read out. So it becomes a little bit more interactive. And that is something for you to think about. If you've got someone that you know that loves doing the theatrical part, then that might be something creative to explore. This is only one of my authors that have taken this step, but the rest, what they're doing is very much the school approach, and it works. So don't tell me, oh, Samantha, it's really hard to crack into. Yes, it is hard, but it is very much a thing that is done, because I've got quite a few authors that are leveraging the childcare element, where they're calling up childcare. So it is cold calling. You're calling up the childcares and saying, hey, I'm an author, I'm looking to do this. Would you be open to giving me the opportunity? I've got my working with children's check, and this, and then you kind of go on from there. Yeah. Something to remember is when you're about to do that, you need to make sure that there is some sort of social proof. No childcare center or school is going to bring you into their organization if they Google your name and nobody knows you. So don't think, oh, okay, the publisher has delivered my books. I'm famous now. I'm an author. I'm going to call these places. It's not going to happen. You need to have some kind of social proof. So whether there's a website that people can go, oh, yeah, that's that author. That's the book she's done. Or that's a Facebook page. You do need to have one of those and a fair bit of content on there before you decide to call these places, because you're going to just get slammed. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So working with children's check is required if you're in Australia, and then some sort of social proof. That's the kids book done and dusted for you. From there, we're moving on to a cookbook. Cookbook is a little bit different. So again, you need to have social proof. Once your book comes out, you need a Facebook page, you need a one-page landing site. If you are going, I don't want to invest any more money into building a professional website, I think I might have mentioned to you earlier on in this challenge, when I first started, my first website for my consultancy business was a $200 or $300 website on a site called Wix, Wix.com. It's an American site. You buy like a basic package, and then you drag and drop images. So I had that website for about 1.5 years before I built my professional site, where I spent a few $1,000s. So, you know, if I can do it, so can you. Yeah. So with the cookbook, again, you need social proof, and you need a website or a landing page. And then you can use PayPal or a payment gateway like Square to take payments from both angles. And that would be applicable, just on a side note, to your kids' books as well. So cookbook, again, same approach, meaning, you know, if you're selling a few hundred, you're going to make money. With cookbooks, generally they're over $25 depending on how they're printed, so that's a little bit different. And in terms of how you're going to monetize it and make lots and lots of money is depending on if you have a food handling license. You would be able to put on little cooking demonstrations or partner up with someone that is already doing that. So start following people on Instagram, start seeing what they're getting up to, and then reach out and say to them, hey, you're doing this, I would love to partner up with you. I can come in and do this, or we can do this online and then deliver us something. So if you're doing something live, you need a food food handling license, and that can be obtained by doing, I think it's like a 1 week or a 2 week course through like Chisholm Institute and stuff like that. So again, our authors have done intensive research, they've picked up what works for them, and then they've gone from there. The other option is the authors that have gone, now I don't want to invest in actual physical workshops. They have actually created a series of online videos that they're selling along with the book. So it might be like how to do it, you know, how to follow the instructions, so little fun ones. They've created a series that are paid, and then a series that are not paid, and they're more your marketing ones. So that's something to think about as well with the cookbook. So as we step into the business and the self-help one, which I'm going to cover in one, I think it's really, really important that each and every one of you either email me or have a conversation with me around how you're tracking and what help you need. And if you're going to give yourself some time this week to actually do some writing, do some unpacking, and then work on that manuscript over the next few weeks. So something important, your business and your self-help books. Guys, this is where you actually are able to make a lot more money a lot quicker, because this is a proven system that people are doing every single day. So the cookbook one takes a bit of planning, the children's one takes a little bit of planning and strategy. In terms of the self-help and the business book, you actually don't have any restrictions, meaning you actually have the ability to leverage this to the capacity you want to leverage, meaning you can take the book and create a retreat at the back of that and price that retreat. I've got authors that are selling retreats for $6,000-$7,000, which means you know, they don't even have to do 2 retreats to cover the cost of what it's going to, you know, publish a book. Like it's crazy. So what I would encourage you to do is start thinking big. A lot of the authors with self-help book and business book have consulting and strategy packaged up with the book, and that's a few $100s. They have workshops, again, few $100s. Then they've got their high-end one-on-one coaching that could be $2,000-$3,000. That is, again, linked to the book, but unpacked beyond the book. And that's where it's really, really important for each and every one of you to kind of think about, okay, where is this going? How can I leverage with the business book? Particularly, it's really, really important. Yeah, something for each and every one of you to think about. And then from there, looking at, okay, what do I have that I can offer in terms of leveraging it from an offline, not just from an online, not just an offline. So offline is your retreats, your workshops, your events, and then online is where you might create an online series similar to this. So you've got your book, then you create an online 5-day challenge or a download series or whatever that might be. And from there, then you get them onto a qualifying call and you sell them into a high ticket, whether it's a workshop, a retreat, a series of coaching, whatever it is that you do. So those are sort of your little insight snippets. I don't want to dive too much into unpacking the business side of things because I would rather customize it for each and every one of you. So let's get into, I think there's one of you live. Do you have any questions for me that I can help you answer, or you're happy to just Yeah, talk to me one-on-one. I'm taking questions now. Okay. Any questions? Margaret, did you have any questions for me while I'm still here? Okay, now I think Margaret's muted herself. So, yeah, okay. All good. What I might do is, in this case, Margaret, I will let you go because I think you're on mute. But for those of you that are going to listen to this as a recording, I suggest you reach out and connect with me, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow's lucky day 5. We're going to wrap this up again, another short, quick, 30-minute segment or so, and then we're going to dive in and unpack it a little bit further. All right. Well, have an awesome, awesome Thursday, and I look forward to talking to you very soon. Bye for now.